Good evening to everyone in Malaysia.
Good evening.
Good evening to everyone in Malaysia, and good afternoon to our guest speaker, Dr. Ishmael Mensah.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to our virtual class of Strategic Marketing for Hospitality and Tourism. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Liza Mokhtar, and I'm doing my Master in Tourism Management, and I'll be your moderator for today's presentation. Before we start, everybody please mute your mic until we complete the presentation. And after presentation, a question and answer session will commence for 10 to 15 minutes. So if you have questions, please post it on the chat box or raise your hand and ask directly to the speaker. Now, I'm pretty sure not many of us knew Dr. Ishmael. So please allow me to read out his short biography. Dr. Ishmael Mensah is an Associate Professor of Tourism and Hospitality Management and Ghana Director of the Confucius Institute at the University of Cape Coast. He holds a PhD tourism degree from the same university and is a certified hospitality educator by the American Hotel and Lodging Association, as well as a member of the Institute of Hospitality. Dr. Mensah also holds postgraduate certificates in hospitality administration, as well as event planning and management from Georgia State University, where he was a fellow under the Ghana Tourism Capacity Development Initiative. He has published widely in high-ranking academic journals in the areas of service quality management, destination marketing, environmental management in hotels, special events management, and community-based development. He is currently the editor-in-chief of the African Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Management. Without further ado, let us listen to Dr. Ishmael Mensah, tourism industry strategic marketing issue in Ghana. The floor is yours, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Liz, and thank you to the entire faculty, University Technology Mara, Tourism Malaysia. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share. I would like to share a slide. Yeah, please, can you see my slides? Okay, great. So for this afternoon's, this evening's presentation, my topic is wooing diasporas, an approach to diaspora tourism in Ghana. And in this presentation, I'm going to talk about the various initiatives and strategies that have been adopted by Ghana to woo the African American niche market, which happens to be one of the most important market segments to Ghana as a tourist destination. So this is the outline of my presentation. I'll begin with a brief overview of Ghana and tourism in Ghana. Then I also look at diaspora tourism. I would also look at niche marketing, the African American niche, Ghana's competitive advantage when it comes to the African American niche market, the various marketing strategies, initiatives, and then I will end it all by taking a closer look at the year of return, which is arguably the most successful marketing campaign when it comes to the African American niche market. And so to begin with a brief, just to give you a perspective of Ghana as a tourist destination. Ghana attained independence just around the time that Malaysia also had its independence. So actually, we are age mates, Ghana and Malaysia, 1957. You know, the capital of Ghana is Accra, a very bustling urban center, fast developing city. Our population is estimated at 30 million. Ghana is not a very big country, relatively. The majority of Ghanaians are Christians. They constitute almost 70%. In terms of climate, it's a tropical, climate, average temperature ranging between 30 to 24 degrees Celsius. And in terms of governance, Ghana since 1992 has practiced multi-party democracy, or if you like, bi-party, democracy, where there have been changes in government successfully. And this year, will once again subject our democracy to the test, and we hope that it will be peaceful. In terms of tourism, Ghana has about 4 major, products. The first, obviously, which appeals to the diaspora market, is heritage tourism. And here we are talking about our slave castles, our monuments and other sites and relics associated with our history. And then we have the cultural product, which has to do with our traditional festivals, our arts and crafts. Ghana is a multicultural society. So from the north all the way to the south, there are a number of cultural products. Then ecological relates to our national parks, our waterfalls, and other natural attractions. Business is arguably the biggest market, yes, because Ghana has established itself as a gateway to Africa. A number of international conferences, meetings take place in Ghana. And this is supported by the number of high-class hotels, upscale hotels that we have, which host a number of events. In terms of attractions, we have the Kakum National Park, which is the most popular, the Brew Botanic Gardens. The Cape Coast and Elmina castles will be the focus of the diaspora tourism that I'm going to talk about. Very popular, tourist attractions. In terms of policy and regulation, we have the Ministry of Arts and Culture being the policy-making body of the tourism in Ghana. And then we have the Ghana Tourism Authority being its regulatory enforcement wing. In other words, the Ghana Tourism Authority is supposed to ensure that standards are maintained to license and classify, tourism service providers. And so in terms of the market segment, you realize that business tourism accounts for more than half of the number of visitors who come to Ghana, 53%, followed by visiting friends and relatives, which includes the diaspora, market, and also education and holidays. Now, what is diaspora tourism? Diaspora tourism has been defined severally. And for us to situate this entire presentation in a proper context, we need to understand exactly what we mean by diaspora tourism. And it has been described severally. Some refer to it as genealogical tourism, where the emphasis is on people traveling to destinations to connect with their ancestors. They travel to the land of their ancestors to reconnect to the past, and also to walk in the footsteps of their forefathers. Some also term it as a homeland trip, which is a kind of tourism which immigrants and their descendants visit the communities of their ancestors. And others refer to it as the non-resident nationals traveling to their country of origin. And so diaspora tourism explains the connection of people in the diaspora and the link to their ancestral homeland, such as African Americans reconnecting with their kith and kin here in Ghana. And diaspora tourism focuses on individuals who have a generational gap to their homeland and they are yearning to reconnect. They want to be part of their country of origin. It has been described also as visit to one's ancestral homeland for the purpose of visiting family and relatives, leisure, discovering, and culture of the ancestral society. And so in a broader perspective, you realize that there are segments of diaspora, especially when it comes to Ghana. Diaspora in the broadest terms refers to people who either by force or voluntarily reside outside their original homelands. So here we are referring to all those people who were either forced to move from Ghana to other parts of the world, or those who migrated voluntarily to seek greener pastures in America and other places. So cumulatively, that refers to the diaspora. But the African diaspora, which is a subset, refers to descendants of the transatlantic slave trade. Specifically, we are referring to those who are offsprings of the slaves who were sent to America, or our brothers and sisters who were forcibly removed from the continent and sent to America to go and work on the plantations. And in Ghana, a typical example is the African Americans. We also have some of these descendants in the Caribbean and other parts of the world, in the UK and other parts of Europe. And so you realize that for such people, they are removed from their country of origin. Then we have the Ghanaian diaspora, which specifically refers to those contemporary transnational Ghanaians who are no longer residents in their home country, especially those who travel outside the country in search of greener pastures. For the presentation that I am making this evening, you realize that Ghana has specifically targeted the African diaspora, and more specifically, the African Americans. For the Ghanaian diaspora, you don't really need to put in a lot of marketing efforts to get them, because they already have close family ties with the country of origin, and they will visit Ghana anyway. For most of them, every year, they will come back home. Now, what is niche marketing? Niche marketing is a method to meet customer needs through tailoring your goods and services to the taste of small markets. So basically, instead of going after the entire mass market, you rather want to focus on a specific segment of the market that you think you have what it takes to meet their needs. And so you are focusing on customers with a distinct set of needs who will offer a premium to the destination that best fulfill these needs. And niche tourism has also been equated to special interest tourism, which is diametrically opposed to mass tourism. Niche market tourism uses programs to attract visitors by focusing on a very specific market segment, which is built around a well-defined product. And in the case of Ghana, the product is the heritage product, specifically the slave castles, our culture, and other aspects of our history that will appeal to the African American. And so for you to be successful at niche marketing, there should be minimal competition. And we say when it comes to diaspora tourism, it is not a generic product. Very few countries can offer it. And Ghana stands in a very good position to beat the competition. You need to have a stronger market demand. And we are saying that, yes, there's a very strong demand for diaspora tourism, especially for the African Americans. Again, it should solve a practical need, the need to reconnect with their kith and kin, the need to get back to their roots. And that is what Ghana is offering. Again, it should be of high profit potential. And generally, there is agreement that the American market is very lucrative. You know, in terms of the margins and the profit, it's quite substantial. And so it is profitable, and it should be professionally and personally satisfying. So the products that you offer should satisfy the needs of the niche market. And indeed, our products do satisfy the needs of the African Americans. So again, to situate this whole issue in a bigger context, you realize that Ghana's diaspora niche market, which is the African Americans, is situated within the bigger frame of international tourists who visit Ghana. And so the bigger picture is the international tourists. But international tourism comprises of both inbound and outbound tourism. Ghana does not really promote outbound tourism. We are more interested in the inbound tourist. So again, there is the segment of inbound tourists. And then within the inbound tourist, the diaspora tourist, which I have already explained. And within the bigger framework of diaspora tourists, we are more interested in the African American segment, as you can see over here. And so there is a criteria for assessing the attractiveness of a market segment. And it should be measurable. In other words, the size of the market, the purchasing power, the profile of the segment should be measurable. And it should be accessible in the sense that the segments can be effectively reached and served. It should be substantial in the sense that the segments are large or profitable enough to serve. And it should be actionable in the sense that effective programs can be designed to attract and serve this segment. And so when we subject the African American niche market to this criteria, you realize that it passes the test. And so in terms of measurability, you say the African American tourists spend a considerable amount of their discretionary income on travel. And they are also experiencing a growth, an increase in their purchasing power. And this has been estimated around 550 billion, which is quite substantial. Now, if you look at the graph on my right, you will see that the average African American income has been rising. In fact, it went down during the recession, 2012 to 2014. Then it bounced back. Now, the level has even risen beyond the pre-recession period. And so this is a market that is quite lucrative. The income is measurable. Other demographics are measurable. Now, in terms of their accessibility, now there are direct flights from Ghana to the US. You don't even have to do a transit in other destinations. And so the traveling time has been considerably reduced. And also there are a number of tour operators, both at home and in the US, who specialize in the African American niche market. And African Americans are more likely to travel longer distances from home among the American population. And so you realize that it passes on that score too. Now, when it comes to the substantiality of the market, you realize that it is the second largest minority group in the US, accounting for 13% of the total population. So it is substantial. The African American niche market is substantial. And they are interested in participants, tracing their roots. Ghana has what it takes to appeal to that market. So in terms of actionability, yes, it is actionable. We can act on that market. Now, Ghana has a number of competitive advantages when it comes to the African American niche market. Parts of West Africa, including Ghana, are considered to be the best destinations for African Americans who want to return to their ancestral homeland, because the majority of slaves were sent to the New World from the West Coast of Africa. And so you realize that for the average African American, he or she will trace his or her roots to West Africa, including Ghana specifically. And among all the monuments connected with the slave trade, the majority are found in Ghana. If you look at Ghana's coast, the castles and the forts connected with the slave trade, not less than 96 are found in Ghana. Of course, some have crumbled, but some are still left. And also the efforts of our first president, President Kwame Nkrumah, to make Ghana the territorial base of the Pan-African movement also ignited a wave of African-American travel to Ghana. And so President Nkrumah made Ghana the base of the Pan-African movement. And since independence, a number of prominent African-Americans, including Maya Angelou, Malcolm X, Richard Wright, W.E.B. Du Bois stayed in Ghana for a very long time. You know, many African-Americans are already living in Ghana, and some have even been installed as traditional chiefs. As you can see, Hayes over here being installed as a traditional chief. And then Michael Jai White, also Hollywood star, also installed as a chief. And so in terms of the marketing strategies, when it comes to the products, Ghana has instituted a number of strategies, and I'll summarize them into 4. Now, a number of diaspora institutions have been established, specifically to facilitate our interactions with the African diaspora, and specifically the African-American tourists. And so in Ghana, we have the Diaspora Affairs Office, situated right at the presidency. It is under the president. And they played a very useful role in a year of return program, which I'll talk about later. Pan Affairs Secretariat. In fact, in 1993 or so, the Ministry of Tourism, the name of the Ministry of Tourism was changed to Ministry of Tourism and Diaspora Relations. And just to emphasize the fact that we wanted to take a closer look at the diaspora and serve their needs. So a number of institutions have been established to facilitate travel by African Americans to Ghana. And also there is the easing of entry restrictions. Government has put in a number of measures to make it easier for them to travel to Ghana. And these have taken the form of legal instrument laws. In the year 2000, Ghana passed the right to abode law, which entitles African Americans the right to stay in Ghana and to naturalize as Ghanaians. Subsequently, there were other laws, that were enacted, and a number of citizenship rights have been granted to some African Americans, which I would explain later. And then there have also been events and projects. In fact, these have been the main strategies employed by the government. The staging of cultural and heritage events to attract the African Americans. And this include PANAFest, Pan-African Historical Theater Festival. Also Juneteenth, Emancipation Day, and lately the Year of Return, which hosted over 100 events. And so events have mainly been used. And then the preservation of the sites and monuments. You remember I told you that one of our strongest selling points, our competitive advantage, lies in the forts and castles. And so instead of watching these forts and castles to crumble, government has made efforts to renovate some of them and also to rehabilitate some of the structures. And so a typical example is the Elmina and Cape Coast Castle, as well as Fort St. Jago, which are World Heritage Monuments and have been renovated. Now, in terms of branding, Ghana instituted a number of measures to position Ghana as the Mecca for African Americans. And so right from the 1950s, you remember after independence, even before independence, when Nkrumah made Ghana the territorial base of the Pan-African movement, Ghana was branded as the Black Star of Africa. And as a result, our Independence Square was named Black Star Square. Our national airline was named Ghana Airways. Our shipping line was the Black Star Airliner. Our national team, the football team, is the Black Stars. And so Ghana was projected as the Black Star of Africa by President Nkrumah. In the 1990s, Rawlings also did a lot to position Ghana as the gateway to Africa, and a number of initiatives. It was during that period that Pana Fest, Emancipation Day, and other events were staged. And then in 2005, also President Kufuor also tried to position Ghana as the Africa's golden experience, the golden gateway, because Ghana is associated with gold, a precious metal. And so President Kufuor decided to also ride on the back of our gold resources to position Ghana as a golden experience. In 2009, President Atta Mills also established the Branding Ghana office, and then they came up with culture, warmth, and rhythm as our destination slogan. And then currently, the emphasis is more on the experience that African Americans will derive when they visit Ghana. So they are being told to see Ghana, to eat Ghana, wear Ghana, and feel Ghana. Now, a number of initiatives have been undertaken over the years. In 1991, as I said, the Pan-African Historical Theatre Festival and Emancipation Day were introduced. These are festivals that were targeted essentially at the African Americans. And then in 1998, we had a symbolic return of the mortal remains of two of our ancestors, Crystal from Jamaica and Carson from the US. And it was symbolic because their corpses were brought through the door of no return. And the door of no return, which is in the slave castle, now became the door of return. Very symbolic. In 1999, African American Summit was held in Ghana, and you had thousands of diasporans and Africans, Ghanaians take summit. In the year 2000, there was the passage of the dual citizenship and the right to abode bills, which entitles our diasporan brothers to become Ghanaians, to acquire Ghanaian citizenship. In 2005, President Kufuor launched Africa's Golden Gateway Project in Washington. And as you can see, he launched it in America, which is our niche market. And the objective was to attract African-American investment and tourists. In 2006, the Ministry of Tourism was changed to Ministry of Tourism and Diaspora Relations. Again, the emphasis on the diaspora. In 2007, the Ministry of Tourism launched a project they termed the Joseph Project. Those who are Christians, and I believe even Muslims also will relate with Joseph, the story of Joseph in the Bible. And so that was the symbolism of that name, that people who have been sold into servitude by their own brothers and sisters will now come back and help their brothers and sisters. 2009 was a very defining moment when President Obama, the first Black African-American president, visited Ghana, and he went to the slave castle, as you can see in the picture over here. And it was really symbolic because he urged his brothers and sisters to also visit Ghana. And then in 2016, there was the granting of citizenship to 37 African Americans. And this was done by President Mahama. Again, in 2018, President Akufo-Addo declared and formally launched, again in Washington, DC, in America, the year of return. So 2019 became the year of return. Over 200 granted citizenship, Ghanaian citizenship, and over 100 cultural events were staged. High-profile African Americans visited the country. I mean, Hollywood Hall of Famers visited Ghana, and it really boosted our image on the African American front. 2020 has been declared, in fact, from 2020 to 2030 has been declared beyond the return. And they are seeking to build on the successes that we chalked during the year of return so that we can mobilize the resources of our African American brothers and other diaspora to build a formidable society in Ghana. And so I will now dwell more on the year of return. The year of return actually marked 400 years since the first enslaved Africans were sent to Jamestown in Virginia. And it was also geared towards boosting tourist arrivals from our African American niche market. It was a year-long series of activities, including musical concerts, food bazaars, etc. And over 100 events were actually staged in Ghana. Now, the most important aspect of the year of return was that it was largely driven by the private sector. Most of the events were organized by private organizations, not the government. And there was a lot of collaboration. So collaborative marketing, there was also an element of collaborative marketing. Collaboration between the Ghana Tourism Authority, the Diaspora Affairs Office of the President, African American Association of Ghana, and other diaspora institutions. Now, these are some of the events that were staged during the year of return, the over 100 events. These are some of the events. Now, one strategy that was also employed was to ease visa restrictions, to make it easier to offer seamless travel for our African American brothers and sisters. So for instance, there was visa on arrival. Now the cost of visa on arrival was slashed significantly from $150 to $75, just to encourage more people to visit Ghana. The government roughly a little over $1 million, dollars. And for those of you who are students of destination, markets, you realize that this is a very small amount for such a successful, program, because largely the Ghana Tourism Authority and the organizers of the Year of Return decided to resort to social media instead of traditional media. Traditional media is expensive. I mean, imagine doing 1 minute or even 30 seconds advert on CNN. It's quite expensive. And so they rather resorted to social media, Facebook, Twitter, and they also elicited the support of celebrities. And you can see Beyonce, the famous African-American musician, when she tweeted that she'll be visiting Ghana during Christmas, it ignited a wave of interest from the African Americans in visiting Ghana. You can see here Ludacris, also a popular African American rap star. He also tweeted when he visited the slave dungeons in Cape Coast. And a whole lot of dignitaries were in Ghana and they took pictures, they tweeted. Social media influencers and bloggers were also very active in marketing Ghana. And so not much was spent in terms of advertisement in traditional media. Now, in terms of the economic impact, the Year of Return campaign, according to the Ministry of Tourism, generated 1.9 billion. It generated 1.9 billion through economic activities, also increased by over 200,000. As you can see from the chart over here, you realize that in 2018, there was a drop in tourist arrivals sharply. But in 2019, as a result of the Year of Return, there was a drastic rise in tourist arrivals. And arrivals by American nationals between January and September was around 83,000, about 26% increase. And that was quite substantial. Average tourist expenditure also significantly. And tourism activities in general were enhanced. A lot of, business, the handicraft sellers, the hotels. In fact, during Christmas, most of the good hotels had 100% occupancy. And so the year of return was a resounding success. In terms of the media, coverage, it also helped to enhance the image of Ghana as a destination, because a lot of journalists did, write-ups on Ghana in BBC, CNN, Forbes. A lot of articles were written about Ghana as the year of return, raged on. And so the year of return has been covered domestically, internationally, over 1,000 times in print, radio, and online media sources. Social media reached a substantially increased global media attention on Ghana, which was valued at $1.9 million US. And so you can see the tweets that were made by some of the influencers, the number of likes and the number of retweets that were made was quite substantial. And so, in effect, Ghana over the years has tried as much as possible to position itself as the Mecca for the African-American tourist. The African-American tourist who is interested in traveling back to Ghana to trace his or her roots and reconnect with his or her kith and kin. And over the years, a number of initiatives have been undertaken, as I have spelled out. For me, the icing on the cake was the year of return, which was very significant in terms of the impact, the economic impact, in terms of tourism receipts, tourism arrivals, and then the general multiplier effect of tourism expenditure. And then the image of Ghana on the global scale was really enhanced as a result of this project. So on that note, I want to thank you for the opportunity to present on a strategic marketing issue in Ghana. Thank you for inviting me. I'm most grateful.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ishmael Mensah.
Pleasure is mine.
Although niche marketing produced tremendous advantages, but it also has limitation in terms of growth. Unfortunately, due to the very definition of a niche marketing can be limiting and to define, which can affect how many opportunities there are for businesses to grow. Depending on how specific a niche business is, it can be hard to reach out to new audiences or large audiences. What is your opinion, Doctor, in this downside of niche marketing?
Yes, I agree with you that niche marketing has its own limitations, especially in terms of the opportunity for growth. But I must say that it helps in a situation where the market has a lot of growth potential and there isn't the visible threats of other destinations coming on board to compete with you. And specifically in the case of the African-American niche market, you realize that, as I indicated earlier on, the product is not generic. This is a very limited product. It's very few countries in West Africa and perhaps in the Caribbean who can offer such a product. But at the same time, you realize that the market has a lot of growth potential, not only in terms of numbers, but also in terms of purchasing power, in terms of income. So on that score, I think that, yes, niche marketing may have its own challenges, And I would therefore suggest that for destinations that will be pursuing niche marketing, they should also blend it with other marketing strategies. They shouldn't put all their eggs in just one basket. And I think to a large extent in Ghana, that is the situation. Even though it's in the African American market, there are other products that we are also selling to other markets. For instance, there's the European market, okay, that we also serve. And so I think that we don't have to put all our eggs in one basket. We should look at other opportunities. But in a situation where the niche market has a lot of potentials and the competition is not that stiff, we can still fall on that.
I understand. All right. So, Doctor, are you ready to answer some questions?
Yes, please.
Okay. The first question is from Mr. Ahmad Johanif. How big is diaspora market in United States?
Okay. It is quite big. As I indicated, the African American market specifically, I know there are other Africans in the United States. For instance, in Ghana, we have the Ghana diaspora in the US. Other African countries have their diaspora in the US. In Ghana, we receive a lot of remittances from our diaspora, not only in the US, but also in Europe and other parts of the world. But talking specifically about the African American niche, it is a huge market. We are talking about the second largest, minority group in the US. And so I'm not too sure about the exact population, but I'm sure it will be over 20 million or maybe 15 million. It is quite significant to serve such a market, especially when the market is also experiencing an improvement in their fortunes in terms of their purchasing power, in terms of their income. It is quite substantial. And so I think that, yes, it satisfies that criteria that the market segment has to be substantial.
Okay. Now let's go to the from Lina Wati Ismail. She asked, how do Ghana position itself as a luxury tourism, especially on niche market like safari? And how does Ghana travel agents play roles in making it a success?
Okay. So Ghana is not seeking to position itself as a safari tourism market. Because if you look on the continent, certainly cannot compete with Kenya. Ghana cannot compete with South Africa. Ghana cannot compete with Botswana and some other countries in Southern Africa. And so even though we have the products, we have our national parks, but the emphasis is not really to carve, that niche for ourselves in the area of safari tourism, or to say that we have what it takes to promote, safari tourism. But we do have some national parks, and indeed some of our brothers and sisters in America, when they come, they also visit those attractions. But then the difference is that in Ghana, if you take Kakum National Park, for instance, because of the climatic conditions, it is a tropical, moist, semi-deciduous rainforest. And so it is very difficult to sight the wildlife, to see the animals. Unlike in Kenya, where you can just drive through the national park and then you see the lions, it is not the same in Ghana. However, when you go up north in Ghana, we have the Mole National Park. At the Mole National Park, which is a savanna, you can see some of the elephants, you can see some of the other wildlife. But generally, Ghana does not seek to position itself as a safari tourism destination. I hope I've answered your question.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. All right. Masrina Bakri asked, Prof, by having selected African American as a tribe leader in Ghana, it will definitely foster closer relationship between Ghana and other African American diaspora. But in another angle, the reason for such niche segmentation will help to reconnect the African American to their roots. My question is, will the said appointed leaders maintain the local norm and existing culture practices, knowing that they also still exploring and self-discovering phase of their roots themselves?
So I
Over
think you
to
are
you, Doctor.
talking about the cultural differences between the African American and the typical Ghanaian who is resident at home. Is that not the case? Yes. So in as much as we are trying to promote diaspora tourism, we are also seeking to promote our culture. And you realize that for most of the events that were staged during the year of return, and even from Panafest, the emphasis has always been on promoting our culture. Now, one good thing is that the African American tourist is also interested in learning at first hand the Ghanaian culture. In fact, some of them even go to the extent of acquiring Ghanaian names. So they drop their Eurocentric names and then they opt for Ghanaian names. Some of them are initiated. They go through initiation ceremonies and all that. However, there are also issues with cultural differences. For instance, there is a standing issue where some Ghanaians, and I'm talking about ordinary Ghanaians, some Ghanaians still perceive them as foreigners, even though they are seeing themselves as part of us and they want to be accorded the same courtesy as Ghanaians. Ghanaians will rather refer to them as foreigners. And so there is always a clash, and sometimes they are not very pleased when they are referred to as foreigners. But I don't see a situation whereby our attempts to encourage our African American brothers to visit us and even to stay in Ghana, I don't see that in any way leading to the watering down of our culture. It will not in any way significantly or adversely impact on our culture. I don't perceive that, because they themselves have made up their minds that they want to learn our culture. They want to accept our culture. They want to speak our language. They want to dress like us. They want to eat Ghanaian food. And so the typical diaspora tourist is not like a mass tourist who will come and force his or her culture on us through the process of acculturation. So.
All right. Okay, next question. Muhammad Zulilham, he asked why in 2017 to 2018 the tourist arrival is dropped.
Yes, I think it has to do with a number of factors. On the demand side, there was a slump. There was a slump in demand. The tourists were not coming in their droves as they should. And also on the supply side, it appears there wasn't a lot of marketing efforts to encourage them to travel here to Ghana. And so you realize that the demand went down drastically. The product had become, tourism dwells on repeat visits. The product had become monotonous. It is that same Kakum National Park, that same castles that we have to visit. There wasn't a lot of energy and vibrancy in terms of, marketing Ghana as a destination. And so that really had an effect on the demand side. And some of the issues were also structural. They were structural issues that had to do with even the tour operators who are supposed to bring in the tourists. You know, they also were not were not doing as much as they should. So generally, you realize that demand, you know, took a slump because of these factors. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So next question is from Mr. Muhammad Roslan Abdullah. How about domestic tourism in Ghana?
Yes, domestic tourism is not really big. You know, I know in most of the developed countries, domestic tourism usually accounts for about 60% of tourism revenues and general, you know, tourism activities. In Ghana, the emphasis has always been on inbound tourism. And of course, we all know that tourism thrives on discretionary income. And so for most developing countries, where are confronted with meeting their basic necessities of life, food, shelter, and clothing, where income levels are low, it becomes difficult for them to be able to partake in tourism. For instance, if I want to travel with my family to another city in Ghana, it means that I have to book an accommodation, transportation, food, the attraction sites. The question is, how many Ghanaians can afford that? But over time, some organizations and tour operators have now started promoting domestic tourism, especially because of the COVID-19. When the inbound tourists are no longer coming in their droves, many of the tour operators are now looking within. So they have come out with packages. You know, Ghana has been classified as one of the emerging economies in Africa. And because of that, there is a growing middle, you know, income population. There is a growing middle class. And for those in the middle class, they can afford to partake in domestic tourism. So packages are now being offered to that market. I believe that as time goes on, especially with the lessons that we have learned from COVID-19, I see the domestic markets driving, you know, tourism in Ghana, as it happens in other parts of the world, especially in the developed countries. But over the past years, it hasn't been that lucrative. The domestic front has not been that lucrative.
I see. All right. Doctor, when you mentioned about Beyonce visiting Ghana, and she tweeted about her visit, all of us were smiling because we are all her biggest fan.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, one of her fans here, Norliza Matzain, she asked, Beyonce tweeted about Ghana. From there, do you see any influx of tourists, especially American African, visit Ghana? If yes, how many % of increase? Because the power of social media can influence people to visit a destination.
Exactly. So generally, in terms of the data available, we know that the year of return resulted in about a 26% increase in tourist arrivals, specifically from America. However, we have not been able to disaggregate the data to say that it was out of Beyonce's tweet that there was this percentage increase. But generally, I mean, Beyonce is an influencer. She has a lot of following on social media. And so if such a person should tweet that I am spending my Christmas in Ghana, definitely it will ignite a lot of interest in traveling to Ghana. And it wasn't only Beyonce. You know, we had a number of African Americans, you know, Michael Jai White, even Nancy Pelosi, you know, the Speaker of the US Senate actually came to Ghana. We had a lot of Hollywood, you know, stars, you know, Boris Kujo, who is originally from Ghana, you know, a lot of them, Akon, I've already talked about Ludacris, and all these people were posting on their Twitter pages, you know, this is in Ghana. And so in December, there was a huge influx of tourists, especially from America. And a lot of the hotels, especially the upscale hotels, were fully booked. And so indeed, Beyonce and co, the tweets that they made about Ghana, you know, resulted in a wave of travel to Ghana.
Okay. We have second questions from Ahmad Johanif. He's interested to know, on retracting their routes, how was the data kept by Ghana?
You mean data on what? Is it data
tourist
on
data? Johanif, is it tourist data?
No, data on their ancestor. Ghana kept on that?
Yes. You know, in the past, people were just relying on their, based on stories and movies that they had watched. A case in point is Kunta Kinte, the saga of the returnee, which traces the route of Kunta Kinte to the Mandinka tribe in the Gambia. And because of that, a number of African Americans also trace their roots to the same place. In the past, we have had people like Louis Armstrong, okay, even Mike Tyson, you know, tracing their roots to Ghana. But now they are resorting to more scientific means of, I mean, getting it right, that this is really where I come from. That I come from Kumasi, I come from St. Louis in Senegal, or I come from Serekunde in the Gambia. And the way they are going about it is that they are using DNA technology. And so you can use DNA technology to actually trace the specific place that you come from in Africa. And I think recently we've had a number of them using DNA to trace their roots to Ghana, different parts of Ghana, from the south all the way to the north, you know. And so for them to be able to get it right, they are now using the scientific means. Yes, some of them may have read books, they may have read history and other things, but they also want to get it right. So they are now using technology to trace their roots.
Okay. Danny, okay. All right. Also, second question. Wow, your topic tonight is, night here. Your topic tonight is very interesting, Doctor. Second question from Mr. Muhammad Roslan Abdullah. He asked, based on statistic, Ghana either tourists come FIT or group. Okay, how important of stakeholders like tourist guide in Ghana?
You mean, if you can come again, the question is not very clear to me.
Okay, I guess he's asking based on statistic, what type of tourists that mostly goes to Ghana? Is it FIT or are they in group? And how do you find the importance of tourist guide as a stakeholder in Ghana tourism?
Okay, so I mean, based based on the statistics, you realize that the majority of tourists who come to Ghana are not even from other continents. They are from the African continent, specifically Nigeria, because Nigeria is a neighboring country. And you have a lot of traders who come to Ghana, to do business, to do shopping, to sell, and then go back. And so within the African sub-region, you realize that we do get a substantial number of our tourists from the West African sub-region and specifically from Nigeria. Now, we also receive a number of tourists from the Ghanaian diaspora. And here I'm talking about Ghanaians who are residents in the US, Ghanaians who are residents in other parts of Europe, in the UK, Germany, and other places. And then thirdly, we have the African Americans, which I have already indicated. Also, we also receive a significant number of them every year. And then we have other countries like Germany, we have the UK, and here I'm not talking about blacks, I'm talking about Caucasians, Europeans. We receive a lot of tourists from the European continent and also from America. And then in recent times, we are also experiencing an increase in the number of Chinese who visit Ghana. And I think that is a global phenomenon. They are taking a close interest in Africa. So the number of Chinese tourists also keeps increasing. So these are our main, source markets when it comes to tourism in Ghana. And also—
Did they travel? Sorry, Doctor. Do they travel individually or do they travel in big groups?
Yes, it is a mix. We have these are usually students, volunteers, and for them, usually they travel alone. But then for those who come from America, especially the African Americans, they usually travel in groups. They resort to the use of tour operators. They don't travel, they don't plan their own trip, they don't come alone, but they resort to the services of tour operators. So such people usually come in groups. And the same will apply to even the Europeans. The Europeans usually, they will also come in groups. So by and large, most of the tourists will be in groups, but there are also individuals who are more or less backpackers. And then when it comes to the tour guides, I think there was a question on the importance of the tour guides, isn't it? Especially in the context of diaspora tourism, the role of the tour guide is very, very important because it is the tour guide who has to interpret the history, the story behind the slave trade, the story behind our monuments. And so you need a tour guide who can appeal to the tourists without necessarily hurting their feelings and their sensibilities. And so the tour guide is of great importance when it comes to interpreting and also selling the product to the tourist and also enhancing the experience that the tourists will usually gain. And in Ghana, usually we have the site guides. The site guides are located at the attraction sites. And then we also have other tour guides who accompany the tourists on their rounds. And they are very knowledgeable in a wide variety of issues, and they are able to interpret to the tourists.
I see. Okay. Now, the next question is from Sharifa Habsha. She would like to know, seeing the success of Ghana promoting diaspora tourism, do you think, Doctor, other countries in Africa continent would probably promote the same segment in near
Absolutely.
future?
Absolutely. And already, we have heard rumors. I don't, because I haven't confirmed whether it is true.
Oh
We have
dear, then
heard.
you have a competitor.
Oh yes, we have our neighbors, Nigeria. We have heard that Nigeria is also planning a wall of return, and Benin is also planning the same. Senegal, you know, even in Southern Africa. And so, I mean, judging from the success that we have chalked with the diaspora tourism, definitely, I mean, it is natural that you would expect other countries, other destinations to come on board and compete with us, because they also, to some extent, are historically linked with the African American, you know, market, and they also have the monuments and the attractions that will appeal to that segment of the market. And so, yes, we have seen a lot of glimpses when it comes to competition from our neighboring countries.
Okay. Doctor, there's a lot more questions, but I'm afraid we don't have much time. But I'm going to ask you the last question from Noor Fadila. On the advertising, what is the percentage share between social media and other forms of advertising? Is the Ghana government only focusing on social media now?
I don't think Ghana is focusing solely on social media. In fact, I would say 80% social media and then 20% for the traditional media. But when you take the year of return specifically, that was the strategy. The strategy was to use social media because you are targeting a specific group of people who are very, you know, prominent on social media, and you want to reach out to them easily and at a lesser cost. And so that is why the government decided to leverage on social media and digital marketing to reach out to them. But still, Ghana relies on traditional media, I mean, to a lesser extent, to reach out to its market, not only the African American market, because we still run, you know, documentaries. We still do a newspaper advertisement and so on and so forth. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Same here. We still do the traditional way of advertising.
Exactly.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Ishmael Mensah, for answering all the questions and for the great presentation as well. Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you with us. Before we conclude the webinar, I would like to invite Dr. Muhammad Razif, our course instructor for HTM 705, Strategic Marketing for Hospitality and Tourism, Faculty of Hotel and Tourism Management, University Technology Mara, UiTM, Malaysia, perhaps to present us e-certificate to Dr. Ishmael Mensah. And also to say some.
The e-certificate, that one I will send to Prof Ishmael personally later. But first of all, I'd like to thank Prof Ishmael for your willingness to participate into this session. It's really inspiring. I also learned a lot from you because I think the information about African tourism is quite limited from my point of view. And I think this would be one of the eye-opening sessions for me to learn more about tourism, especially on Ghana, because we here in Malaysia always we know more about South Africa as well as Kenya, because like you mentioned just now for the safari. But you mentioned about the business tourism, I think before this during our online discussion series. And I would say that you have mentioned it again, so we know that that will be one of the biggest segments there in Ghana. And for all you know, today we have directors, also the deputy directors and assistant directors from the Tourism Malaysia. So they are all the destination marketing organization from Malaysia. If let's say, Prof, you need to have several inputs that can help you with the tourism industry or to craft strategies on behalf of the tourism industry there in Ghana, you can also inquire from them. So you know the name, especially you have the liaison officer, this charming lady, Mazatuliza. She will definitely respond to your request later. And I would say that will conclude our session today. And can we have one final photo session? Maybe all of you can turn on your video. Then we can have one photo session. Final photo session with Prof Ishmael. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay, last one. Ubah gaya, change. Freestyle, we call it freestyle. Okay. Okay, so let's conclude the session, Prof. Thanks so much.
Okay, Doctor.
Yes.
Okay, thank you to everyone here for attending, and we hope you have learned and enjoyed this presentation. Phil Kotler once said, "Marketing takes a day to learn. Unfortunately, it takes a lifetime to master." Stay safe, stay healthy, and God bless. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. It's a
Yes.
pleasure. I'll definitely link up with Tourism Malaysia so that we can collaborate. I think we also have a lot to learn from the Malaysian experience. And so thank you once again for inviting me.
Yes,
it's always an opportunity.
Yes, thank you, Prof.